Dr. Alain Barber, who is an orthopedic surgeon working in Marseille, south of France, for those who don't know. And I will lead this session called Oxygenation and Perspective. I think that hyperbaric treatment was a new option for neuroorthopedic. No, it's only to ask you to breathe. Do it once for this last session. They already sleep, I'm afraid. So.
And it's time for you to open your slides. You
have your slides on this?
On the time for me to say just stay until the end, because at the end there's a little surprise for the one who are still here. So stay here at the end of this session. There will be only 2 presentations, very, very short time for discussion, because we need to leave this room. But after we have just a little surprise for you. If you remember your emails and the questions you have received about us.
Well, dear colleagues, I want to thank François for his mark of confidence. He asked me to present you the Wallent anesthetic technique and its use in the field of application in neuroorthopedics. It's an acronym meaning wide awake local anesthesia, no tourniquet. This term has been used by Donald Lalonde from Canada in a 2013 end surgery book. The combined injection of lidocaine or xylocaine with epinephrine is classic and almost used in plastic surgery of the breast or varicose vein surgery. It's referred as tumescent surgery using Klein's solution, for example, which is as well a mix of adrenaline and epinephrine. Lalonde's description includes the lack of sedation, allowing the surgeon to speak with his patient during the surgery, and the lack of tourniquet poorly tolerated, even if it's for a very short period. Above all, is carrying out simple intervention in his medical practice without any anesthetist, without using an operating room, and without any medical supervision. In this book, the focus on the cost is very important. If we compare Wallent with Plexus block, one of the main advantages of the Wallent technique in hand surgery is an active motor participation of the patient. The contraindications are extremely rare. We can do such anesthesia with blood thinner. We can do it even if the patient is not fasting. It's easy to perform. We don't need any specific equipment. In other words, it's like anesthetics within everyone's reach. Anesthesia within everyone's reach. If we compare it with Plexus block, the effect of Plexus block is quicker, is quickly efficient, because we need at least 30 minutes to have really a good vasoconstriction. If we need to feel something through the skin, the infiltration of soft tissue may complicate the surgery. If we do as well bone surgery, the vasoconstriction is more efficient with tourniquet. If we compare it with local anesthesia, the effect is prolongated by vasoconstriction. The effect of the anesthesia is prolongated by vasoconstriction, and the comfort of the surgeon is better with this vasoconstriction than with the pure local anesthesia. What about distal necrosis? We've all heard about no adrenaline anesthesia with extremities because of the risk within extremities because of the risk of necrosis. Cases of ischemia have been described in the 50s with the use of provocaine, and it's probably because of the acidity of the solution. No case of digital ischemia has been ever described using lidocaine. How to do it easily? You mix vials of 10 milliliters of 1% lidocaine, with 4 milliliters of 8.4% of bicarbonate. And with this solution, you complete with salt solution to obtain like you need, or 100 or 150 milliliters. It depends on the surgery you have to do. The recommended dose is of 7 milligrams per kilo for xylocaine, but it can increase up to 30 milligrams kilo. As well, you can do your proper mix with the same adrenaline, 1% or 2%, and epinephrine. And in this case, because the pH is different, not so acid, you don't use the bicarbonate within your solution. What are the indications? The indication of the surgery of the extremity is in the absence of an operating room. It can serve as well as a secret weapon with the anesthetist if you have a painful anesthesia or a painful anesthetist. And mostly it's useful to perform live surgery. And it's indicated when you need perioperative mobilization to test the result of the ongoing surgery. I show you some example. This one is an extensor capillaris instability. We can test the stability of the reparation and the mobility of the tendon by asking the patient to perform an active pronosupination. He's able to do a slow motion, and at the end, I try to do with him a crash test to see if everything's going when he do the same arc of motion. Like this. As well, another example with the second operation time of flexor tendon graft. We can adjust the stitches to obtain a precise and exact length for a complete arc of motion. He's able to extend his fingers, and we can adjust exactly your suture to have a complete arc of motion, like you see there. Well, what about Wellent in neuroorthopedics? The indications are every muscle transfer of a complete or and voluntary controlled muscle. It needs a pure sensitive anesthesia if we want to do this kind of transfer, of course. And with this distal infiltration procedure is necessary to obtain a pure sensitive anesthesia. We can use it for peripheral nerve injury or as well in tetraplegic and surgery. When we talk about overactivated or spastic muscle surgery, we can do easily tendon lengthening and antagonist muscle transfer. As well, we need a pure sensitive anesthesia if we want really to have a contraction more efficient. No muscle infiltration, and every patient is limited by cognitive impairment. The result, in my experience, unfortunately, there is no change in post-operatory sedation when compared with classical anesthesia. Even if a perfect perioperative motor response is obtained, its control is not certain and permanent in immediate post-operatory. The functional integration of transfer appears to be similar to what we found with other techniques of anesthesia. For spastic muscle transfer, I've tried to use a spastic carpal flexor to stabilize a non-functional wrist in extension. The effective intraoperative effect using this spasticity has always disappeared in the postoperative period. It's an early result about few patients, but it seems not working like this. In conclusion, do we currently have any interest nowadays in France to perform surgical procedure independently outside an operating room? I don't think so. And for example, it seems quite unlikely to defend ourselves in case of nosocomial infection. I systematically use the Wallent technique in all indications where dynamic testing is essential, like transfer, electrolysis, stenolysis, or ligamentoplasty. It allows better efficiency in muscle transfer of healthy muscle despite disappointing immediate post-operative results. We should keep on evaluating this anesthesia in overacted spastic muscle. And of course, we never forget that it should be adapted to patient cognitive abilities. Who should perform the Wallent anesthesia? Ideally, the anesthetist should perform the Wallent, however, it should master it just in case. It's a good weapon to increase our autonomy. Keep in mind that always 30 minutes between anesthesia and incision. We have to prepare each incision site meticulously. And in case of bone surgery or indirect nerve surgery, when the anesthesia is localized, one should expect mediocre vasoconstriction. Its execution is subject to a full collaboration from the patient. Thank you for your attention.